Welcome to our great players of the past class. Hey, keep it down over there. There's a huge number of people here. And this one is about your favorite player, David Bronstein. And he's probably the only player I'm going to lecture about in this series, maybe ever, that I've played against. And I played against him 3 times. Amazing. And I played him before you were born and before I was born. Now, the Wikipedia article says he was born in 1924 and he died in 2006, and he was actually always good. So he's probably was a world-class player for at least 40 years, and he played on when he wasn't one of the top players, but he was still a reasonable grandmaster. He died in 2006 at the age of 82. Now, normally before we lecture, we're out in the hall and we're in other rooms and we're discussing what the lecture is about, but I actually kept something a secret, because usually I tell everybody what I'm going to talk about. When Bronstein died, I was somewhere on the internet. It wasn't Twitter, but it was some site somewhere. And some guy said Bronstein died, and I didn't see, and he gave me some link in Russian to some Soviet, former Soviet thing. And so I put on my blog at the time that David Bronstein had died, and I was the first Western reporter to report his death. Then a few hours later, it was on chess.com and ICC and ChessBase and wherever else they put stuff. Wikipedia didn't say he died yet, but I knew he died because I know what's up. Bronstein has a huge Wikipedia article, obviously, because he was good. And I guess the most famous thing about Bronstein, other than not becoming the world champion, is he had a match with Botvinnik, which, as you all know, the final score was 12-12. And Bronstein lost game 33. 33. Wow, that would be news. He lost game 23, and probably he was winning at some point. So he was very close to being world champion, and he was slightly bitter after that, slightly. Okay, and then there's a long article, and he's still there. Yeah. And there's some great games here. Maybe we'll look at 1 or 2 of them. Notable games. Does it say Feingold? No. Okay, so Bronstein beat me in Vikonsee or Groningen. Nobody knows. I think it was Vikonsee. And then I played him in some random weekend tournament, and at some point near the end of the game, when it was just approaching the end game, he hung his queen. So I took his queen. Yeah, and then I was the favorite, especially after he resigned. Now, most of the articles that I show you on the players of the past, there's basically Wikipedia and there's chessgames.com. Usually their pictures are a little different. You can see, yeah. And these percentages and everything are always wrong. Bronstein played every opening, and he played all different styles. He's a very active player. However, in this discussion, we have a lot of other things, like the obituary from the New York Times. See, not everything they write is fake, just the stuff about me. Then there's the obituary from The Guardian. That's Archer's favorite newspaper. And then there's the Telegraph, which is another British, this is the British version. There's one in India also. So yeah, Bronstein was a very famous player, and here's the ChessBase article. Bronstein dies, and there's a huge article, talks about Serwan on Bronstein. Wow. Okay, and then they have some Serwan discussion. You can look at ChessBase. Anyway, if you go to the internet, you can see a lot about Bronstein because he was a great player. Now, before we look at his games and talk about his life a little, I have my own anecdote. In 1990, as you all know, I played in Iceland. And there was an open tournament, and there was also a match. It was the US, Russia, England, and the Nordic countries. That was the other team. Somehow the Nordic countries came in last. Anyway, I played at the open tournament because I was banned from the US team for being terrible. And in the open tournament was Bronstein, and I remember one of the top boards, I believe board 2, he was playing the Armenian Grandmaster Rafael Vaganyan, and on move 1, Vaganyan played d4, very devious move, d4, and Bronstein thought 15 minutes and played knight f6, a good move, and on move 40, Bronstein lost on time in a better position, which I thought was funny. Afterwards I said, yo, why'd you play knight f6 after 15 minutes thought? And he said I was calming down. So I guess he was calm. So calm his flag fell. This is a problem Archer has a lot. Now you know how to avoid that. Don't think 15 minutes on your first move. Archer's like, yeah, I can do that. Okay, So we'll start with one of his most famous games, and the reason I like it is I grew up with this game. This game was played in 1973 between Bronstein and Ljubojevic. And the reason I grew up with this game is when I was a kid, one of my favorite books, I'm sure one of yours, is The Art of Chess Analysis. By which Dutch grandmaster? Does anybody know? In fact, he's playing in the Isle of Man now, and he's doing pretty well. And he's old school.
Tinman?
Yeah, Tinman. That's right, Jan Tinman. And this was one of the games that he discussed in his book, and I would read that book over and over, and it was pretty good. We didn't have computers then, so we had to read.
I know.
Yeah, horrible, right?
Yeah.
You with some comment.
Did you ever play Ljubojevic?
I have not.
I'm
No.
a big fan of his style.
Yeah, no, he's
I
a
love
yeah.
his style.
Yeah, he's a great analyst. Okay, now they played a very interesting opening, and Ljubojevic liked to play unusual chess. So he played Alekhine, and here he made a blunder on move 2. Dave Vest obviously would play knight g8,
Best move.
but he played knight d5.
Yeah,
So now you know who won. And Bronstein played the 4 pawns attack, which is the most aggressive. And the only player I know who plays the way Black does in this game currently is American Grandmaster Alex Shabalov. Most Grandmasters with Black will either play g6, or after taking, they'll play bishop f5 or knight c6 or both. But Ljubojevic played c5, which is a very rare move, and Shabalov will play that today. Obviously, white plays d5 and looks pretty good. Okay, and then e6 attacks the pawn many times. You can see that's the point of the Alekhine defense, is to attack white's center. White defends the center. c4, which is explosive, right, Archer?
Yep.
And that unleashes the dark squared bishop. Now we can go to b4 or c5, and we block in the white squared bishop. Now, these moves are very original and creative and aggressive and interesting. However, they've all been played many times before, or after I should say. This was one of the first games of this line, and many players have repeated it. So this line became very popular after this game, all of these moves. Black sacrifices a pawn, and he says, well, your king's not very good. I'm going to attack your king and your queen, and you have this isolated pawn. I'm going to take these center pawns. And white says, I have 2 bishops, I have center pawns, I'm up a pawn. So a very double-edged position. Rook g1, playing for aggression, recommended by Archer, right? Rook g1. Yeah, I thought you'd like that move. g6, preventing any g7 tricks. And what's funny about this position here, where I'm sort of going quickly, you see the skewer here? There's actually a lot of games in my database. Shocking. And you get to this position, and now Bronstein played the move d6. And what you don't know about this game, well, first of all, you already didn't know anything about this game, but what you really didn't know is that Ljubojevic had this position twice more after this game, once in 1973 and once a few years later. And in those games, he played a better move. Because in this position, he made a slight error. He played the move queen c8. The engine, which wasn't around in the 70s, recommends queen c5. And the funny thing is, this is the famous game, and Black lost. And in the games you don't know, Black won. So Ljubojevic actually has 2 out of 3 here with Black, which according to Meatloaf Archer, that's not bad, right? Okay. And queen c8 is not the best move. And after queen c5, the computer prefers Black. Nice battery there. And Black is a rook up. He might get mated, but it still is a rook up. So, okay. And when I say he might get mated, let's have a look at the game. Okay, now Bronstein was a very creative player. Some might say too creative. What move activates these 2 pieces? You.
Castle's queenside.
Castle's queenside, which is the best move, and the computer says equal, even though white's down a rook, so that's not equal, that's just crazy. Instead, white activated those 2 pieces and didn't castle queenside. Because he's Bronstein, castling queenside is the best move. He played king e2. This is actually a mistake. But king e2 is funnier looking, so he did that. Notice that the bishop is attacked by discovery. Bishop c5 is a bad move. Black should still play queen c5. Okay, bishop c5 doesn't lose yet. Knight e4, obviously. And now Black makes the losing move. And you can see white's down a rook, but white has a lot of attack against black's king. Black doesn't really have a lot of defense of his king. So you could say black's up a rook, but that won't matter till the end game. In the opening and middle game here, white's obviously crushing it. And basically, there's two really obvious moves here for black, and he played the wrong one. And what I mean by obvious is, white wants to play knight f6 check, and white's putting pressure on this bishop. So which move can black play that sort of defends both of them? Defending f6 and the bishop. Yeah, be quiet at home.
Knight
I can hear
d5.
you. Which one?
Knight d5?
Knight d5. Well, knight d5,
Five, yeah, five.
that gives the knight away. So
Oh,
don't,
yeah,
so don't do that.
B8 to D7.
Right, he could put knight b8 to d7 or knight b6 to d7, but he picked the wrong one. Okay, and after the move he played, he's losing. He actually has to play the other one, but you play like Ljubojevic, so he played this knight. You want to play the other knight.
Goes a retreat for the bishop.
Yeah, well, that's true. And also
Pawn to
this,
B6.
yeah, also this knight can come here to c6,
Yeah.
and you can play b6.
And you're
yeah.
going after the king pawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so this knight here doesn't work, and he played rook c1. Now rook c1 is the kind of move I wouldn't expect a weaker player to make. The weaker player is staring at the king's side, and he says there is no other part of the game. I got this going on, I got this going on, I got this. Okay, he don't care about this rook. Okay, Paul Morphy would be rolling over in his grave if you said, I don't care about that rook. Okay, and obviously rook c1, this greatly improves white's position. He's putting his rook opposite the queen, he's pinning the bishop, and importantly, this knight is going to be overworked. It's going to have to defend everything. Okay, not easy to do. Okay, he played queen c6, rook takes c5 obviously, because we're trying to get the knight, away from the f6 square, and he did. King h8, queen h4. Now here, if you had the black pieces, you might think I'm getting checkmated, because it looks like you're getting checkmated. Looks bad, right? Yeah. Okay, and this actually, queen b5 check looks like a spite check. It looks like he's just checking for no reason. Okay, but it's not true. In this position, white only has one move that wins, even though there's many moves that stop check. Well, it's complicated. So raising your hand in 1 second is risky. Very risky. Yeah. And the reason, actually, I had to turn the engine on to find out, because I was like, why doesn't every move win? So I played moves that I thought won, and then I was like, oh. So the obvious move to a grandmaster like me is what? What's the obvious way to get out of check?
King f2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, king f2, and if you check me to safety. King f2 doesn't win for a very funny reason. So we're going to play h5. Wait, do we play h5 now or we wait? It's so funny, I can't remember. I have a very tricky move. I have to play it in the right position. No, I don't play it yet. I play it next move. Okay. No, that's right. I play it now. And then you take with a knight and you think I'm going to resign. Or so you think. So the reason the king isn't great on f2 is because we have queen b4 attacking your queen, and you can't take my queen because I have knight d3 check. I mean, you could take my queen, but you would lose the ending down a rook.
And queen to h3 doesn't do anything. Queen to b4.
You can play queen to h3, but I think you can't escape checks or something. Like, I can take this. Can I take this? Let's see. No, I think I can't take that. Queen d4 check? Man. Black's queen's getting really active somehow. Knight d3 check? That might even be better. Yeah. You can see that black is getting active pieces here, and white's hoping to get this discovered check in. And according to the engine, after king f2, it's an equal position. Black can actually draw the game. And the move that I would never play, that's the only
King
winning move.
e3.
King e3. what would Steinitz say? Activate the king.
And then when the queen comes in, you step back.
Right, and queen b4 is silly now because I can just take it. You don't have any knight d3 check. If you check with the queen, as Dave points out, you just come back here and that's the end of the checks. Yeah. Yeah, king e3 is not the first move I would have thought of. And the idea is when black stops mate with h5 and you take it, black wants to get, some defense to his king.
Oh, I got it now.
You have a defense to his king?
When I take that knight with my pawn, if I have my queen on d3, my queen can come back to h7 and defend.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
But wait a minute. Oh, there's no rook to check me on g8 when I'm moved over from my king.
But my queen can go to g4. Man, the truth hurts.
And so then my
So I think you were suggesting this,
Yeah.
but then yeah, unfortunately,
Oh, I got queen to g3.
yeah. Well, I got a
No,
bishop here.
No, queen g. Oh.
Yeah, the truth hurts, right, Archer?
Death.
Just like Sabo Reshevsky, 1953. You were all thinking that, right?
No.
What? You were all thinking Sabo Reshevsky?
Ben, I don't have any chance to go knight takes b3 with my knight on.
Yeah, well, you'll see the game very similar. Yeah. First, we have to go to my database because it's my, I run this chess center, and we click on search. We could click on Sabo Reshevsky. Is that your favorite game? How do you guys not know this? It's a famous game. You know why it's famous? Sabo had mate in 2 and didn't play it. As a chess coach, I recommend my students play mate in 2. 1953? Yeah. Okay,
It's a draw.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this position, Sabo played knight f6 check, and black should play king h8. Reshevsky played bishop takes f6. Based on the previous game, what should white play here?
Queen takes.
Oh my goodness.
Queen takes g6 check, followed by mate next move with advantage.
Was a grandmaster too.
I mean, Reshevsky and Sabo were top 20 in the world.
Candidates tournament, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah, the computer, by the way, agrees with queen g6. It says mate in 2. So white had mate in 2, and in this position, black should have played king h8. But he allowed mate in 2, then white didn't play it, and the game ended in a draw later. And when they asked Sabo, why didn't you play mate in 2? He said when you play Reshevsky, you don't look for mate in 2. So the truth hurts. Okay, but I knew that game from 20 years before this game, so I knew what to do. Mate in 2. Hey, where'd my game go? Okay. So this game was complicated. That's why there was a book about this game. Okay, so black played h5, and then he played queen takes b3 check, getting rid of the bishop, getting his knight into the game. So let's see what the engine says. It says, uh-oh. Boy, it really likes, yeah, it likes white a lot. Man, you don't have time for knight takes b3 because you're getting mated. And the computer announces mate. Okay, so Ljubojevic didn't get mated. He sacked his queen, and then he played knight d5 check because the bishop isn't protecting d5 anymore. And now he's stopping all these checkmates. And you guys are confused because you realize that black just gave his queen away. So you're like, black gave his queen away, why are they still playing? Aha, thanks for asking.
And the king to d4 move.
Yeah, but if you remember, before black gave his queen away, black was up a rook, right? Then black just took a bishop, and now black's going to take a knight. That's getting up there. A rook, bishop, and knight for a queen, that's not so bad. Okay, so king d4 as recommended by Dave, because Dave likes to fork the 2 knights. Now, I complain about this every video. So this is like 15th video in a row I've complained about this, right? You guys watch all my videos, so you know you're always here.
Yeah.
People are always like, they're always drawing at the top, and chess is boring, rawr, right? Danganronian 4 draws in a row. Anish Giri, 500 draws in a row. Everybody all draws, right? If the players want to play boring and draw, they can. And if they don't want to play boring, then they play like that. And those are the best players in the world. And that's how they play. White doesn't castle, black sacks his queen, white sacks his rook, and he plays king d4, forking 2 knights in the center. You don't see that too often. Okay, that's why these games are famous. And when they have 20 move Berlin draws, those aren't as famous. Then nobody cares about those guys. Okay, so even though neither one of these players became world champion. They'll be famous forever because of the way they played chess. Okay, knight e6, stopping himself from getting mated. Knight takes. And unfortunately, well, now we have a queen and a knight for 2 rooks. A queen and a knight is way too good. So in a normal game, between normal grandmasters, black would resign. I don't know why black didn't resign. He played on way too long. So I don't get it. I'm not the one on trial here. Yeah, he didn't resign here either. He's done a queen for a rook. Yeah. Okay, now he resigned.
There had to be some rivalry between
Well,
the two.
also it's move 41. You know what that means. They were in time trouble. They got to move 40, and then, yeah. They didn't have time delay, Archer. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
And they had analog clocks. You know what those are?
Yeah.
That's where the thing goes up, then the flag falls. So your flag could fall and you didn't know it.
And you don't know how much time's
Yeah,
left. When
people
it
at home
gets
are like,
up
what are you talking about? Now, I'm a pretty sneaky guy, and I won 2 games against players who were better than me when their flags fell, and they were like, my flag fell? They were shocked. One was Julian Hodgson, your favorite British grandmaster. He had mate in 3, and before he could execute the mate in 3, I said, your flag's down. And his flag fell, and he was like, it was move 40. If he had made the first move, I would have lost, because it would have made time control. And the other was Jan Elvest, and I was playing Elvest in the World Open. We were both blitzing, and he made his 40th move and hit the clock, and I said, your flag's down. And as Archer can tell you, when it's a 40 moves in some amount of time, when you make your 40th move and hit the clock, your flag has to be up. If it fell, you lose. Even if you made 40 moves. You gotta make 40 moves and have a second on your clock. So I won with brilliant play. You know what was brilliant about it? I said, your flag's down. Yes. I also beat Anatoly Lane on time, but that was move 31 of a 40 move time control. And he was like, what? He was shocked. What do you mean my flag's down? He's looking at the clock. And I was like, what? You weren't even close to making the time control. Okay, so a lot of games from before 1990 ended on move 41. White made move 41 and black resigned. This is very common because between moves 30 and 40, they were blitzing it out. Then when they got to move 40, they're like, that's better. Oh, I'm down 5 pieces? Okay, I resign. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay, now the next one is just for fun, because we're here for fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is against Najdorf. Najdorf didn't play very well, but you heard of Najdorf, the Najdorf Sicilian. Okay, and he was from Poland, but he lived in South America. Does Karen know why? Why would somebody from Poland live in South America? Now, this guy listens to 5- and 6-hour podcasts about the subject, so he would know why.
And remember, he's got the famous game where he sacrifices the 4 pieces to get made.
That was a long time ago. Yeah,
That was like,
He was escaping the Nazis.
That was the-
you got to escape. Yeah,
the most amazing game.
I like that game. That's okay. He hits everybody. So, yeah, Najdorf decided instead of being killed by the Nazis, he would go to South America. That was a good idea. And so he lived almost his whole life in South America, but he played for Poland. And Najdorf was a businessman other than a chess player, and he did a lot of business in Michigan, Lansing to be precise. And he was in Michigan a lot, but he never played chess there, but he was there. Okay, now Bronstein Najdorf, the reason this game I selected it is Najdorf was a good player. You heard of Najdorf, okay? He was a candidate. He was top 10 in the world. He had openings named after him. In this game, he got the beatdown of all time. So usually when guys lose like this, they're like, oh, excuse me, that was Morphy's opponent and he's terrible. Okay, but Najdorf, you heard of Najdorf, okay? So they played the same-ish Nimzo Indian. I didn't know what kind of Nimzo Indian it was, but they're all the same-ish to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Okay, does anybody in the back row, other than Dave, know which move White plays to make the same-ish King's Indian? I'll accept 2 answers, too. I'm a nice guy. No? What about you, Archer?
Knight f3.
No? Let's see, Karen. What move for White is the same-ish variation of the Nimzo Indian?
All I want to say is, it's not very popular nowadays. The classical Queen C2,
Yeah, that's what I like to play. I'm very close.
Everybody's
What did you
doing
say?
that one.
E3?
E3 is too normal.
isn't that the Rubinstein?
Right. You could have said F3 and I would have accepted it. But A3 is that's the old school move. That was named after Fritz Friedrich Samisch, your favorite grandmaster. We might do a lecture on him soon. Okay, and obviously White takes. And White says, you can take all my queenside pawns as long as I mate you. Archer approves of that method.
Yep.
Okay, so white does everything to push his kingside pawns. Roar! Roar! And black says, but what if I take all your queenside pawns? And then white says, yeah, it's okay, I mated you. Now if we go back a move, you'll notice black played 98. This is a typical move because white's going to push all of his pawns and we don't want our knight to get attacked. And sometimes we push our F pawn and we block white. And when I say sometimes, it didn't happen this game. I wonder who won. Well, you already know who won. Now, this is a more common move when the pawn is on D7. Because then, when black plays B6, bishop A6 to capture this pawn, then black can play knight D6 and take it. Now black can't play knight D6 unless he cheats. But that didn't stop him from playing B6, bishop A6. Roar, F5. Okay, Bronstein wasn't boring. E5, and now, never play this move, Archer.
I would have tried D5 there. Just
Yeah,
like Najdorf.
D5 is a fine move, yeah.
I mean,
Never play F6.
No, E5. I would have tried E5 there for black.
E5? You mean D5?
Just like just like Najdorf did.
Oh, you would have played this.
I'm on it.
And then F6.
And then I would have said, uh-oh.
SpaghettiOs? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said, I don't like that.
Yeah, the computer likes white quite a bit. So when white gives all of his pawns away and the computer likes white, that's bad. Because usually in this opening, black is taking on C4 and being up a pawn. And when black takes with a bishop, he can trade some of these pieces off and not get mated by them. Black didn't do any of that. White's just going real fast. Obviously, if you take with the G pawn, my bishop's coming here, my knife is going to F5. If you take with a knight, bishop G5 is annoying. We might do a Dave Vest exchange sacrifice later. Might even put the knight up on his grill.
Yeah,
So
that
Najdorf
five
played
moves.
king H8, D5, knight G3. Here comes the knife F5. Here comes the queen H5. Rawr. Everybody's coming. However, black's pieces are on the A file. These are the kind of games black wins in 90 moves because he's a pawn up in the ending, or he gets mated in 20 moves. Those are the two options. Okay, he chose option B. GF, knife F5. Bishop C8, always retreat. Queen H5. And now this was very surprising to me. I was surprised. If I was playing a blitz game, I don't think I would play this move. There's 3 ways to capture. The computer says this is by far the best. By far. Although it does follow one of my rules, so maybe I would play it. It's not really my rule. I'm sort of cheating since this is my rule, but since it's the right move, I'll cheat. We're all going to vote, Karen, because you like voting. You can vote for EF, Rook F, or Queen F5. In a normal class, it would be some 4th move I wouldn't tell you, but it's not. It's one of those 3 moves.
Dang it.
It's too hard. Okay, who votes for EF? Raise your hand.
Ah.
Archer's very confident. Who votes for Rook F5? And who votes for Queen F5? And we have 1 abstention.
I'm still confused.
Yeah,
I want to go Rook F5 and just go crazy, but I'm not convinced.
right. Well, as usual, Archer's right. He's on a roll. EF5, following my rule, always play E takes F5. Although, that's a rule when black plays the move F5. But, okay, it works here, so I'm going to steal it. So obviously, white wants to do the Dave Vest method of getting the rook up in here. That's a good method. Okay, Najdorf plays Rook G8, obviously. He's gonna defend. Yeah.
Queen sack time.
Yeah, he's going to defend. And now this is a very funny moment in the game. And when I'm yelling at Karen, which is very, usual, this is exactly what I'm yelling at her about. If Najdorf was alive, I could yell at him. Unfortunately, he was a lot better than me, and he's not alive. So he escaped. After bishop H6, what did black play here? I'll give you a hint. Black just played Rook G7.
He drops back.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever Karen does that, I'm like, what are you doing? But then Najdorf does it, so I don't know. Okay, well, I don't really have a good suggestion. Maybe he shouldn't have played Rook G7 in the first place.
Right.
On the other hand, I don't know. I mean, he's going to get mated. So, yeah, this is totally useless. These pieces, totally useless. Okay, so here, Rook H3, And now he played the Roberto Duran defense.
No mas.
No mas. Yeah, good job. Yeah. You guys know about that?
No.
Roberto Duran was a boxer. Who was he fighting?
Leonard.
Leonard. He was fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, one of the top Sugar Rays of all time, but not the top. And they were fighting, and he's like, I give up. He just, well, I give up. Well, they said no mas, because they left. Very suspicious. Yeah, here Black said no mas, and the engine agrees. Yeah, the engine's like, good resignation. Yeah.
But right here,
Man, the truth hurts, right?
knight G7.
Knight G7's the best move, and now every move wins. But okay, the easiest is here. And the idea is we're going to retreat. And then we're going to play Queen H7 mate. Now the computer wants to retreat here because other than mate, it wants to play Bishop F6 also. What a mean computer. Okay, and again, this is a good defense except for one thing. It's not a good defense. Also, this is the two bishops against the two knights. Yeah, that's like how I play in 1 minute. Now, if this game was played in the other room in the monthly, Swiss between two C players, I wouldn't show you this game. The reason I'm showing you this game is Najdorf was pretty good, but he looked pretty bad. Najdorf didn't look like a world-class player. He looked like a simul opponent for Bronstein. Bronstein played E4, F4, F5, F6, and mated him. So
In the candidates tournament.
in a candidates tournament, yeah, we don't usually when you're losing, it's at 90 moves because the guy was lucky, and not because you don't belong in the game. 21 moves, that was it, and then he's like, I give up. Yeah. So what a crush, and Bronstein would play like that. Okay, here's another 20 move win against Mr. Unknown. That was actually his name. Okay, I've never seen this game. Bronstein sacrificed all his pieces, and the reason he won is that his opponent found out during the game they were playing Bug House. So Bronstein had some more pieces, and then he really crushed him. That's your favorite game, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so they played a Queen's Gambit accepted, and you would think, well, that's a boring opening. And actually, they played a line I used to play. Grandmasters don't play Bishop G4 anymore. They play E6. And I used to play this with Black. And one of the problems with Black is you get this pawn attacked because your bishop's not on C8. That didn't bother Bronstein, he just sacrificed it. He said, if you want to move your queen every move and not castle and develop your pieces, that's fine with me. Okay, he must have talked a lot during the game. This was also in Rizal. So, takes on F3, and he just sacrificed his pawn. And actually, this position has occurred many times, and people don't castle here. The guy castled. They play knight to C3, getting their pieces developed. It's not really safer to castle. The king's probably just as safe on E1. Okay, so castling isn't good because you're not getting your king safe, but you're leaving your pieces here. Okay, knight D5. And this is the reason why white wants to play knight C3. Knight G5 is an obvious move that everybody would play in 1 second. See how funny I am? And the reason has nothing to do with knight D5. Why does black want to play knight D5 here? What's the follow-up? What's black's next move? Don't look at the knight, that's not going to help you.
Queen H4?
Correct. Karen doesn't say a lot, but when she does, she's right. It's like Queen H4. So Bronstein wants to get all up in his grill, but there's a knight in the way, so he plays a knight here, not only releasing the queen, but blocking this queen. That's why grandmasters play knight C3 here. Then they don't care about Queen H4 because their king's not over there, and knight C3 defends D5. So when games are played and somebody gets crushed, they figure out why they got crushed, then they don't do that anymore. So now grandmasters play knight C3. Okay, knight D5. Bronstein sacrificing a pawn for an attack, normal. And he played rook D1. That's a lot of aggression here. That's a lot going on. Unfortunately, there's not a lot going on over here. Whenever somebody's attacking and it's a grandmaster game and the attack is successful, a lot of times it's the guy didn't develop his pieces. For example, I'll tell you a game you all know. It was played about 7 years ago, Anand Shirov. It was at Cambridge Springs, and Anand sacrificed all his pieces on the king's side, and Shirov's pieces were all on the queen side. So then Shirov lost. Wasn't a typical game. That was the kind of game Anand played when he was 20. And Anand was 40, but he said, hey, Shirov, your pieces are all over there, I'm gonna mate you. And then Shirov's like, what are you talking during the game for? And he's like, I'm Anand. He's like, oh, sorry. Okay, and I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. But I'm sure you guys know the game. So Cambridge Springs for you at home. Okay, so rook b8, and now we go back to Dave Est.
Bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, queen takes d5.
Exclam. I'm not even sure he would take on d5. He might play rook b8. I like rook b8 because it's Zwischenzug.
Queen c6.
Yeah, let's see here. Am I playing rook b8 first? See, I'm not the worst player in my chair. Rook b8's good because then eventually you get to come up here.
C6,
Yeah.
rook to b6,
Yeah, rook b8.
and then the queen's driven out.
You want to go here, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm getting all these extra tempi so I can come over here.
And then when the pawn takes, it's going to lift that rook across.
Yeah, and now black has a big advantage, it says.
Okay.
Somehow with these pieces here, you're not defending too good, right? Just a judgment call.
Well, I was just trying to win another pawn, that's
No, I
all.
know. Yeah. Rook d1, rook b8, queen c6, queen h4. Now, as Dave was telling Karen about 45 minutes ago, you got to watch out for those loose pieces. Maybe he's telling Archer. And so, even though you're giving a knight away, or it looks like it, nobody's protecting this guy, right? So queen g4 check, uh-oh. So when the guy played rook d1, he thought his rook was active. Now it's hanging. Okay, knight c3 defending his rook. Rook b6, getting ready for the big rook lift. Queen takes knight. Knight takes f4, recommended by Archer.
Yep.
And now, if you take, then you should always retreat. Remember to always retreat. Did you remember? How do you retreat? Yeah,
Like a Frenchman.
right, but in this position, what do you do? Anybody? You!
What does white do?
No, it's black's move.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that's unfortunate for white.
Archer recommends a move.
Queen f3.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
A good move.
Let me just go back 1 minute here, please,
Yeah.
since it's over with. Like when he
No,
goes-
it's only over with if he takes it. We're looking
Well,
at a variation.
Oh, okay. On queen to d7, right there.
Yeah.
Instead of playing that move, is it possible now just to sacrifice your queen for the knight and rook? Go bishop takes d5, rook takes.
Oh, you mean instead of taking the knight?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to play, what do you want to play here?
Bishop takes d5,
Okay.
rook takes. No, he doesn't.
Well, I was just going to do this. But I had a good reason. I didn't even see rook takes. I didn't even see your queen was hanging. I'm not even sure which move is better. Let's have a look. Yeah, rook takes is better. Taking a queen is better. Then you want to do this?
Yeah.
Man, I got knight here coming, and you got these guys over there.
I got bishop to f3, that's all.
I still got this guy coming.
Oops, never mind. Well,
Yeah,
I still got my.
it doesn't like your position.
Well, I know it wouldn't, but I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah, right. Well, that might have done better than the other guy, but that would have been more boring. Yeah. So he played queen takes knight, knight takes f4. Now, black's threatening knight h3 check and queen g4 check. Rawr. And you can't take the knight, as we just looked at. If you forgot, because you have bad memories, mate. Okay, so he didn't take the knight. He played knight e2. Now he can take the knight with his knight. His queen's defending his knight. The knight's going to g3. So Bronstein resigned. No, I'm kidding. Knight h3 check. What's the worst move? Which one's the worst?
No comment.
No comment is correct.
King f1.
King f1, hanging mate in 1. So he didn't do that. So he played king g2. Let's see if that's better than king h1. Oh yeah, king h1, we have this mate.
Yeah, I'm going to try the king to g2.
So, see, that guy, the guy's not as bad as you said he was. Even though you didn't say anything about it. So king g2 is forced. Knight takes f2. Man, we have a lot of attack here, don't we? We got knight g4 coming. We have knight e4. We got knight takes rook. Okay, he played rook d4.
That's what I was going to play.
Yep, you like sacking the exchange.
Well,
Knight G4.
me and Alberto on the same page.
Now I'm gonna mate you over here. What are you gonna do about that? I'm gonna mate you every way I can.
It just happens. Alberto and
Sometimes you get mated? Yeah. Man, these guys, it's like a Morphe game. They're always telling me Morphe's opponents and they're all complaining, and I'm like, that's every game I look at. Everybody's opponents are always doing that. Okay, Rook F4, stopping mate.
Oh, I know what I'm Rook G4. Rook takes the knight.
I expected Rook G4. Unfortunately, this guy's over here. So instead of mating you, I can just be on material.
Yeah, but I'm only the exchange down.
Only.
And a bunch of pawns.
Yeah, your king's no good either.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you
Okay,
know,
so Rook
You can
F4.
have everything.
Yeah.
that's right.
Queen H2.
We're desperate by
King
now.
F1.
Anyway.
Now, where's the mate here? I don't see it. Somebody help me. So I guess this wins your queen. Yeah, that's probably better for black, right? Okay, so King
That would be
F1.
good enough.
King
A
F1.
little bit.
Bishop takes E3. I don't think you want to play Bronstein. He looks pretty good. He's looking good. Now we're threatening Queen H1, and we're threatening Bishop takes Rook, and we're threatening Bishop takes C1 and other stuff.
Well, I'm gonna have to just try to go with it and go bishop takes bishop.
Bishop D5, exclam.
Okay.
Bishop takes bishop. What do? I take this,
I gotta run.
and then I take this. Actually, I might like this better. Yeah, I like everything. Yeah, I don't like it. Maybe knight take. I think knight takes is better. Yeah, this got to be +7. Yeah, it's got to be +7. That's why I get paid the big bucks. Yep, good for black. Okay, so he played Bishop D5, a very suspicious move. I don't get Bishop D5. And he took the rook, threatening mate, and obviously white resigned. So that was also 21 moves. That was Bronstein's specialty. Beat you in 20 moves or your money back. Yeah. That was an interzonal also. Candidates interzonal, Bronstein wins in 20 moves. No wonder he was tied a world championship match. Pretty good. Okay, last but not least is I gotta have a game with Botvinnik. I have to, because, Botvinnik. Yeah, archers like Botvinnik.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask one question.
Okay.
What about Bobby Fischer and Bronstein?
Never heard of him.
Never played.
No, I think they played. Yeah.
I'm sure
That would have been an amazing game.
Yeah.
I'm sure they played.
Yeah, and Botvinnik played Fischer only once. Yeah.
The
But I
draw,
mean,
that was a
I'm
draw.
giving a Bronstein lecture. I have to show Bronstein Botvinnik.
No, I'm saying-
They're
I'm-
linked throughout history.
Yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah.
Fischer, Bronstein.
Yeah. Well, again, different generations, but Bronstein spanned generations.
Yeah, I
Bronstein
just
was good in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
I just think that'd probably be
Yeah.
an amazing game too.
All right, now there's two openings I hate, Archer. Openings that are intolerant to other openings, and the Dutch. F5. Yeah. Okay, Botvinnik liked to play the French and the Dutch, so he was hoping for E4. He played the Dutch. And they played a very mean line, except instead of playing your typical knight F3 in castles, Bronstein played E3 and knight E2, which actually we saw Bronstein do when he was white against Najdorf in the same Ishimzo Indian. He played E3, knight E2, then he played knight G3 and he mated him. Okay, now according to the engine, this game was dynamically equal throughout, but they got the kind of position that, in my opinion, Bronstein was better than Botvinnik at, and he showed that he was. They played a very interesting game. Okay, and it was very strategical. Everybody was getting their squares and playing the way they wanted to play. Never play F3. And everybody was trading, and the computer said it was always equal. White had advantages, black had advantages. And then Bronstein made the game totally crazy. And I really like what Bronstein did here. In this position, he wanted to get his rooks over to the queen side, and he played rook b2 and rook a1. I like that. Keeping his b pawn defended, but getting his rooks over to the queen side. That was a nice trick he did. And then he took over the file. He took over the A file. Okay, so that was good. But Botvinnik has his nice bishops, a knight on e4, e-pawn's weak, so the position's still equal. And knight e5 is a good move, getting rid of the dark squared bishop. And he says, nope, I like my dark squared bishop. And then the move g4. Now, unfortunately, Matt Larson's going to Yale. If he wasn't, he would have a special invitation to this class because g4 was the critical move. And of course, that's Matt Larson's favorite move. Playing the game over until here, the engine said both players played very well. And after the move g4, I assume, since it was move 32, Botvinnik was in time trouble. And here, Botvinnik failed miserably. That's the worst way to fail. Okay? And he got totally caught up in the tactics and just lost immediately. And it's funny because this reminds me of Archer's game yesterday, because both sides are moving the pawns in front of their king, and both kings get exposed. And again, strategically, maybe Botvinnik was a better player, but I think in tactical positions, Bronstein was better. And I think Bronstein, using his psychology, chose the right time to make the game complicated when Botvinnik was in time trouble. Totally changing the game. g4. And if Larry Evans was black, your favorite player, what would he play? What did Evans say about refuting a sacrifice? How do you do it?
By accepting.
By accepting it, and that was the losing move. Okay, so he played f takes g4. If my opponent played g4 and I didn't take it, I would feel like he got some over on me. I stopped g4. So when I put a pawn in the center and my opponent sacrifices a pawn, I take it. So when I have a pawn on f5 and my opponent plays g4, I take it because he just gave a pawn away. And unfortunately, that opens up the directions to black's king. This queen wasn't really doing a good job until now. Now we take the knight, and you obviously can't take with the f-pawn because your f-pawn's not there. Also, you may have noticed this bishop is very suspicious. Did you notice that? That's not a good bishop, right? And when you guys have a bad bishop, usually go to one of our bathrooms, you start crying in the bathroom. My bishops are no good. Okay, Bronstein didn't do that. He said, my bishop's no good, let's get these pawns out of the way. Well, you can't get this pawn out of the way, that would be cheating. You can get this pawn out of the way. So he did. And after takes, bishop h4, all of a sudden. So we went from nothing to white getting all these open diagonals on black's king. And now black is in a lot of trouble. White has everything attacking black now, just by sacrificing a pawn. All of his pieces are good. Okay, and again, obviously it's move 34, so Botvinnik's in time trouble. And it's hard to play the right move because white has a lot of threats. And because of that, he played the wrong move and we got some nice tricks going. Archer approved. You're gonna like the tactics. Okay, he played rook takes e5 because Dave Vest is here.
Incidentally, was that the correct move back when right after g4?
In this position.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. It said it was equal. Queen g7.
I thought about that one too.
Yeah,
The rook.
then we get over here, and we get over here, and we get over here. It's a hard move to play to move your queen one square.
Oh, you know what this one does? It gets rid of the rook on a7.
Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it?
And you may lose your f-pawn, but still.
Yeah, but you'll get this nice pin over here. Again, it was reminded me of your game. Both the kings were open, and you both got attacks. So, and again, to me, that's Bronstein's kind of game more than Botvinnik. So, FG4, the losing move. In my opinion, the only bad move Botvinnik played. That'll teach him to have the black pieces. You have the black pieces, you make one bad move in the World Championship, and you lose. Bishop h4, rook takes e5, takes. Yeah, this is really nice what Bronstein did. He played rook f1, attacking the queen. Now he can get both rooks into the game. Paul Morphy style, using everything to attack. Now material-wise, black is doing fine. Black has a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Queen g8. Okay, now, if any of my students were watching this game and they suggested the wrong move, they would be fired. They'd still have to pay me my weekly fee, but they'd be fired. Does white want to trade queens, or white doesn't want to trade queens? Archer, you know.
White doesn't trade.
Correct. And the reason white does it is clear. You see whose king is more exposed. When you see the rook on the 7th, and you see this rook here, and you see this bishop here, and you see this queen here, then you're like, man, that king's no good. There's an open 7th rank to it. And so we want to checkmate black, and this was an amazing move Bronstein played. I assume Bronstein was in time trouble also. So I was really impressed with this move. Only my students can find it. You have to follow the Feingold rule. Always retreat. The most important black defensive piece is this bishop. If that bishop wasn't there, bishop f6 would be a good move. Queen c3 would be a good move. Queen b2 would be a good move. When I say good, I'm underestimating the situation here, right? If this bishop wasn't here, the game's over. Queen b2's mate, queen c3's mate, bishop f6 is mate. So if we can get rid of this guy, we're sitting pretty. So what move did Bronstein play, taking that into account? Archer.
Bishop g3.
Bam! And now most of you would take the queen and then checkmate, which is better for somebody.
Good job, Archer.
Yeah, and then here, and then mate. Now you might not like that mate. In fact, after here, I can do double, triple, quadruple mate.
I'll take it.
Now you might not like that mate, so I got another mate for you, if you don't like that one. Rook f8, and then mate. That was quicker. Okay, so Botvinnik's not falling into mate in 2, but there's a problem. I'm not only threatening mate, if you save your bishop, this rook's not defended very much, right? And that's the difference between a world-class player and some guy sitting in a chess club somewhere. The guy sitting in the chess club, he focuses on one thing. The world-class player says, I'm going to mate you, and if you don't let me mate you, I'll beat you some other way. And Botvinnik said, you're not going to mate me, I'm Botvinnik. So he played bishop g7, and you're not going to mate him. Now, the cruel, amazing computer plays rook g7 here, which is a very funny move. Okay, which no human. Now, if your opponent plays rook g7, then you get the director and say he's cheating with an engine, and then we throw him out of the tournament. Because that allows queen takes queen. Okay, and then I assume after bishop e5, white is still winning, I assume. Okay, because the computer suggests it. But any human would just play queen takes queen check, bishop takes rook, and be up 1,000 pieces. That's what Bronstein did. He's doing 1,000 pieces. Now, Bronstein wasn't cheating with a computer, but he had a good reason not to cheat. You know what it was, Archer? It was 1951. Nobody cheated with the computer. They had a good reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no computers on them. They're like, where's my pocket computer? I can't find it. Right. So after queen takes queen, Botvinnik resigned. And in my opinion, Botvinnik made one mistake that game, f takes g4, opening the floodgates. That was a clearance, that should go right in the annals of clearance sacrifices. Okay? In this position, white wants to play bishop h4, so he plays g4. Now, in one of the many games Karen has memorized, which we talked about today, Steinitz von Bardeleben, what tournament?
Hastings.
That's correct. What year?
I don't know.
Here, pass it off to Dave.
Say what?
What year, Hastings?
1924.
No, 1895. You're thinking of New York.
Okay.
New York's 24 and 27, right?
Yes.
You got my back. Hastings, 1895, in the game Steinitz von Bardeleben. Which of the four of you knows what the clearance sacrifice was that Steinitz played? Anybody?
You did it in class.
I did. White plays d5, and now his knight can go to d4. You can't take your own pawn. And d5 was a crushing move. And g4 is the same, because now we can play bishop h4. We're getting this pawn out of the way, so our bishop has the... And now he should have played queen g7, threatening the rook, putting pressure on the knight, having a little pin action, but he took the pawn, and now he's losing. The truth hurts. And bishop g3 was an amazing move. And we got all this cross diagonal action going. Right? We got mate on that diagonal, and we win your rook on the other one. So a very nice game, and that was game 22. When you're playing a world championship match, I recommend winning game 22, and it's a 24-game match. Still didn't win the match, but close. That's too bad. I put him in the lead, and then game 23 he lost when he was winning maybe, certainly drawing. The match was 12-12, and the world champion wins on tie breaks. It's good to be the world champion.
And he did that more than once.
Yeah, and Botvinnik, here's a little, grandmaster, I know a lot of secrets. Botvinnik never won a match when he was the world champion. He drew, he lost. Then when the other guy was the world champion, they never won a match. Botvinnik would beat them in the rematch. And the first person to beat Botvinnik and then keep his world championship and not lose to him was Petrosian. He's like, okay, you're old now, go away. Yeah. And then Petrosian, Spassky, Fischer, etc. Mainly etc. Right? Yeah. Most of the world champions after that were etc. Yeah. So that was David Bronstein. I had the pleasure of riding on the train with him, playing many tournaments with him. I played him more than once. I beat him, I lost to him. Very interesting guy. He lived a long life. He played chess when he was in his 70s. He was still a pretty good player, over 2,400 FIDE. And he was clearly top 5 in the world for at least 10 years. And maybe he's most known to you at home for writing which chess book? You Can Do It.
Zurich.
Zurich 53, which was an interzonal tournament. You know what nobody knows about that tournament? Or was it a candidates tournament? Interzonal or candidates? What nobody knows about that tournament, I've asked many people, who won that tournament? Who won? They all know Zurich 53, it's my favorite book. Who won the tournament? I don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, I know. But no. I can give you a hint. I can give you a hint. He was at my first wedding. That didn't help him too much. He was the world champion. That helps too. Not many world champions have been to my weddings. Not many. No, nothing? You got nothing? It wasn't Botvinnik, it wasn't Tall, and it wasn't Petrosian. You only got one left.
Bronstein?
He wasn't the world
You never won
champion.
the championship.
Now maybe this guy knows.
What?
Who won Zurich 53?
Man, Zurich 50.
Yeah, everybody knows the book. Nobody knows
Wasn't that
who won.
Bronstein?
No. Nobody. I said he was the world champion. Hey Karen, you still here?
Smazlov.
There you go. I thought Karen might know. Yeah. Yeah, he was at my first wedding, Smyslov.
Yeah.
Vasily Smyslov won Zurich 53. That had a lot of good players, a lot of famous players. Yeah. So Bronstein's very well known for that, but as you can see, he played pretty well too. And he played pretty well for over 40 years. So the truth hurts. All right, see you guys next time when great players of the past. Bye, everyone.